SpaceX, because it's been about 6 weeks since SpaceX began its journey as a publicly traded company. And so we thought we'd revisit what we've learned over the last 6 weeks. Keith, I guess first question for you. Here we have our title, SpaceX, an uncontrolled reentry for the stock. And brief disclaimer for legal purposes. Keith, again, the stock's been trading for about 6 weeks roughly. You've had a sell on it the entire time, which has been a great call because it's down about 25% since its first closing. What were some of the red flags that you saw initially that led you to put a sell on the name?
Sure. I mean, there were a ton of them. First and foremost, when we got to the IPO itself, just the speed at which they were trying to push this through, from when they released the S1 to when they actually started trading, it was very rapid. And so that to me is a bit of a red flag. Beyond that, I would say just valuation. The numbers they were asking us to believe in were, quite frankly, astronomical. And it was really hard. I mean, if they didn't have the Google and Anthropic contracts to report at the time of the IPO, it would have been a very hard sell in the XAI division to believe the 1.75 trillion they were going for at their IPO price. And so when I was doing the math, I couldn't arrive at that number, and just the growth would have to be so ridiculous that it wasn't there. And while the S1, it told an incredible story. I mean, it was a 280-page document that really was read more like a book than an investor presentation. And so the story was incredible, but it always is with Elon Musk. It's always going to be a lot of hype, but at the end of the day, all we have is hope that this growth is going to materialize, and hope is not an investment strategy that is viable. And so I had to follow the numbers, and when I did my valuation, I simply couldn't get to the growth rates, the multiples, all the hype they were talking about. I couldn't get there.
Okay, fair enough. So 6 weeks has passed now. You've had news flow on SpaceX over this last little bit of time. Has there been anything that's come out that you would say surprised you about the story?
Sure. I mean, the first few weeks of trading were nothing short of out of the ordinary. I mean, I've never seen a company IPO and then 2 or 3 days later and announce a major corporate action. That is just something I've not seen in my tenure as an analyst. And so when they announced the Cursor acquisition, that very much came out of left field for me. It was an all-stock deal. It makes sense why they announced it when they did, because it was being based off a weighted average share price for the deal's value. And so it makes sense that they would take advantage of the really high share price. Now, the bond issue really caught me off guard just because you just raised 75 billion in an IPO. Why do you need 25 billion more? Why not raise more money in the IPO versus issuing bonds? And so those two actions put me on my back foot a little bit. And then we had radio silence. And I think that was just the hype kind of wearing off around the name. And eventually it just continued to trade down. And then we had the announcement of their earnings release, which will be on the 4th. And so that's going to be the next major catalyst for the name itself.
Okay, so speaking of that earnings announcement, what are some of the things that you're going to be looking for to kind of, maybe reset your expectations about the name?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the first and next big portion of data that we get. And I don't think these are going to be weak earnings. I mean, when they IPO'd, they would have had a pretty good idea of how Q2 was shaping up. And so I don't think they would have IPO'd if it was going to be a weak quarter. And so I fully expect the numbers to be quite strong. But with that, it's going to be the story and whether or not they give tangible evidence that they're actually growing the business beyond just renting out data center space, beyond the growth that we know exists with Starlink, and the growth that we have with their space division. And so they really need to prove this quarter that they're doing more than just being a glorified AWS service. And so this quarter is going to be really important for them to update the narrative for us analysts in terms of how are we supposed to think about growth? Where's the growth actually going to come from? And are there, is there a contract in place, or are they working on contracts with other companies to do more than just rent out data space to develop their models? This is going to be a really important update for us in terms of the story beyond just the S1.
Okay. Thanks for that update, Keith. Thanks for listening. And if you'd like to get more information about SpaceX or other stocks that CFRA analysts cover, please visit us at marketscopeadvisor.com. So thanks for coming, and hope to be in touch soon.